Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. A little bit of Grimm up in this piece. It's been a hot minute since we've done a little bit of Grimm, and this is their Bright Light IPA. 6.5% proper IPA ABV level. We actually get decent distro of Grimm stuff, relatively close to me. Actually, really close to me. There's a place, 8 minutes away that gets like Grimm on the reg. They tend to be a little bit pricey. This one wasn't too bad. Actually, it was a little pricey. I was just in the mood for a Grimm, let's put it that way. So I picked it up. Here we go. 6.5% Bright Light. Brewed with Citra. Oh, it's a collab. I did not know that. It's a collab with Prison City Brewing. Yeah, Prison City Brewing. It's Auburn, New York. Kind of semi-close to Syracuse. It's the Nat section of New York. It's like kind of in the middle of New York. Not like, you know, your Rochester kind of area. More like northeast Finger Lakesy. They are known for their Riot beer. Prison City Riot. And they do a bunch of variants on that kind of stuff. Great little spot. Segue. This can is sweating. It is super hot out here. Super humid. I went to Prison City on pretty much the most humid day in the history of mankind. I think their air conditioning might have been broken. And me and my buddy George, we sat there, and what did we do? We drank beer. After a whole weekend of going crazy drinking beer, we were there on a ride home, drinking beer and eating bacon flights. Bacon. A flight of bacon in oppressive heat drinking beers. That's what we do. It was delicious, though. So, yeah, there you go. A little collab. I did not know it was a collab. I don't feel that bad about the little uptick in pricing. I don't know. Something about collabs just make me a little bit more. There's like a bug flying around in my glass while I pour this. That's what happens when you build a shed in the middle of a farm. Label-wise, I can actually bust up on Grimm and their hipsterisms. And this is very much a kind of like hipster class and artistic expression. I don't know why I like it. I do. I don't know. There's something, I can't tell you why. I don't know what it is, but I like it. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting soft in my old age. I dig it. Do we have a can on date on this? This beer is exactly 1 month and 2 days old. Beer-wise. Now, it looks very nice. Got this nice, rich kind of turbidity. That's a word. It's not like super thick, but it definitely has that kind of density to it. The only thing I would say here that is a little bit of a kind of, not red flag, and we'll see. I just gave it a whirl. I wash these glasses the best I can out here in the shed, so it could be more my glass than anything else, because the head's sticking around. Now, when I originally poured it, the head dissipated really quickly, but now it's sticking around, so let's just not talk about that in my poopy glass washing techniques, because I'm in a shed. Anyway, yeah, it has that nice kind of, the drinkable haze. That's the way it kind of comes off. It has this kind of drinkable haze kind of thing going on, to where it's like, it looks turbid, but it looks like something you can chug on. Let's just dive into the nose. That's made with Citra. They tell you that on the can. You would hope I'd be able to pick that out, actually. Without actually the can telling me, is all the citrus are belong to us, and it really does lean that direction. You can talk me in a little just stone fruit here, a little candied stone fruit, but it really is running that gamut, the grapefruit, the orange, the pineapple, running that gamut of that citrus in there in a very, very pretty way. Has a little stank to it, like a little stank, a little like little beaster weedy kind of stankiness to it, but it really is that citrus kind of just being the star of the show. A nice sweetness to it, dare I say. There might be a more than just a pinch of actual malt in this sucker. I think it's going to come off a little ranky-dink. I think it's going to come off citrus forward. And I think there's going to be a nice malt base to this. See, what? I know Prison City is actually very much kind of like, all the beers that I've had from them have all had really nice kind of robust malt characteristics. Grimm very much the same. They can lean in the super New England haze, but everything I've had, even though it's been a limited kind of cross-section of what I've had from Prison City, I just kind of clicking in my head is like everything has a malt characteristic to it, which kind of gets me excited. I'm just going to dive in. Cheers, y'all. This reminds me of an old school beer. By old school, I mean like 2016, give or take a year or two. Hazie's. Maybe even earlier than that. First things first. Mouthfeel's nice. It comes off drinkable. There's a softness, a lushness to it initially, and then it kind of fades away and becomes a little bit quick and thin at the end. Don't mind that. It's not like it's thin throughout the whole beer. Fireworks going off. Try to see if I can see them. The fruit portion of the show, again, just citrus all the way. There's actually a decent amount of stone fruit in here that I didn't think I was going to get that big of a portion on the actual taste of the beer after the nose, but it's definitely there. But it's all the, your orange, your grapefruit. Actually, probably more orange and pineapple than anything to me. A little subtle grapefruit, but it is all the citrus arbol on us. That little green thing, that little like beesterweedy fluttering thing, is there. It's definitely there, but it adds a little touch of onion to it. A little touch of green. It's that beesterweed, a little ranky-dank, but then a little touch of onion. Nothing too big, nothing too over the top, but it reminds me, and when I said it reminds me of like old school beer, I didn't mean like old school beer, I meant like old school Haze IPA. That 2014, 15, basically when Motueka and a lot of New Zealand hops came out and they had this super ranky-dank thing going on. It kind of has a touch of that going on. It says brewed with Citra. I'm sure there's more than just Citra in here. It could be just the way it was picked. It could be the batch of Citra. But a lot of these notes typically get kind of weeded out, pun intended, of beers now. That oniony, scalliony, ranky-dank is not necessarily something you typically, or a lot of breweries typically don't go for. The Grimms of the world, the Prison Cities of the world, I don't think they're afraid of that. And I think they maybe just aren't afraid of those coming out, and maybe that's why it's here. But it adds this cool little touch to a beer that if I think you remove that, if I think you just eliminate that little bit of ranky-dank, that little bit of onion, it becomes a little bit more homogenized. It becomes a little bit more, I've had this beer before from several other different people. For me, it works really, really well. I know a lot of y'all out there like the Ultra Haze and all that kind of fun stuff, but this, I can dig on that. Drinkable, fruit forward, a little touch. And again, we're not talking a big, we're not talking like 2015 single cut level onion scalliony. We're talking, just flutterings of that. And a very drinkable, very fun beer. Ultra citrus forward, nice full mouthfeel that finishes quick, makes you actually want to go back for another sip. I'm sold. It's a bit pricey. We're floating around, this was close to $20. Grimm, collab, middle of nowhere in Jersey. I've gotten them cheaper. They're beers, but I'm not gonna sit here and say I love it. But at the same time, holiday weekend, I wanted something of this ilk, and it's surprising me. So I'm not too peeved at paying that price point. But it's a really tasty beer. Let's we've talked about the beer. We've talked about what we've gotten. Is it one of the better IPAs I've had as of late? Yes. Is Mount Rushmore status base knee-jerk reaction? No. It's in the conversation. It's eating towards the top. Is it one of the more funner and interesting? Take visceral. Just like this is like, I don't know how to put it because it almost sounds like I'm copping out and I'm trying to fit it in somewhere, and that could certainly be the case. It deserves to be there in a certain way. If we're talking about, okay, if you like beers to be a little bit off the beaten path, off axis of center, and exhibit some of these old school traits, it's definitely up there. Don't get them that much. I've actually got it once or twice through a couple beers over the past month or two. Gives me a little, a little bit of hope for that kind of, that cool old schoolness kind of coming through, but it's tasty. It's tasty. Let's put it that way. And I'm glad I bought it. If you like what we like this, if you like those beers, those old, again, old school New Zealand hopped beers. I keep going back to the single cuts of the 2015, 16, 17s when it was like Onion City, that kind of stuff. If you dig those kind of beers. If you like IPA and you just don't want the homogenized, just same thing over and over again that everybody's trying to reproduce, but at the same time you like good beer, because this is good beer, it just happens to be a hazy, you'll like this. There we go. Review in the books. Grimm, Prison City. Have you been to both places? I've been to Prison City. Actually, been there twice. Have never been to Grimm. Meant to go. Couldn't get out there. Had a kid. Pandemic. I'll get there eventually. It'll happen. Have you been to the breweries? Have you had their beers? Have you had a bunch of their beers? Have you had this particular beer? I assume it's relatively new. If you've had, have you had, or not, have you had this batch? This year's? Let me know. All that fun stuff down there. There you go. We're reviewing the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of collab goodness right now. Well, we'll see you next time. Cheers all.